Here is something nobody tells you when you walk into a bike shop after 60. The salesperson will talk to you about gears, frame weight, tire width, and maybe even throw in a speech about carbon fiber versus aluminum. And if you ask about e-bikes, half of them will look at you like you just asked for training wheels. But here is the truth. The comparison most people are making between e-bikes and regular bikes is completely wrong. And if you get it wrong, you are not just wasting money. You might be walking away from one of the most powerful tools for staying active, independent, and genuinely healthy in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Why this comparison actually matters after 60. Let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. This is not a video for 25-year-olds trying to shave 30 seconds off their weekend ride. This is for the person who woke up one morning, looked at their dusty bike in the garage, and thought, can I still do this? Or maybe you never stopped riding and you are starting to notice that the hills feel a little steeper than they used to. Or maybe your doctor just told you to get more low-impact exercise and you are now standing in a sporting goods store completely overwhelmed. Whatever brought you here, welcome. Because this comparison is long overdue. The reason this conversation is so important specifically after 60 is simple. Your body is not the same machine it was in 1980, and that is not an insult. That is just biology. Muscle mass starts declining somewhere around your mid-30s at a rate of roughly 3 to 5% per decade. Your cardiovascular system becomes less efficient at recovering from intense effort. Your joints, particularly your knees and hips, start accumulating decades of wear. Your balance and reaction time shift. None of this means you are done. It means the rules of the game have changed and you need equipment that understands the new rules. Here is what makes this comparison so tricky. Most bike reviews, most YouTube videos, most blog posts, they are written by people in their 30s comparing e-bikes and regular bikes on the basis of speed, workout intensity, and cost per mile. And those metrics matter, sure, but they are almost entirely the wrong metrics for someone over 60. The metrics that actually matter at this stage of life are sustainability, joint load, recovery time, fall risk, range confidence, and most importantly, how many more years this bike is going to keep you moving. And here is something the bike industry is not exactly rushing to advertise. The right bike choice at 60 is not just a lifestyle decision, it is genuinely a health decision. Getting it wrong means either overexerting yourself on a regular bike and quitting after 3 weeks, or buying an e-bike you did not need yet and missing out on legitimate cardiovascular work you were perfectly capable of doing. Both are real outcomes. Both happen all the time, so let's do this properly. The physical reality check. Alright, let's talk about what actually happens to your body on each of these bikes, because this is where most comparisons completely fall apart. On a regular bike, you are doing 100% of the work. Every hill, every headwind, every mile. That is all you. Now, for some people over 60, that is still completely manageable and genuinely beneficial. Cycling is a low-impact cardiovascular exercise, which means it is far easier on your joints than running. Your knees, your hips, your ankles, they thank you for choosing cycling over pounding pavement. That part is the same whether you are on an e-bike or a regular bike. But here is where things start to diverge. When you hit a steep incline on a regular bike, your heart rate spikes. Your quads are screaming. You are standing up out of the saddle, grinding through the gear, and hoping there is a flat section coming soon. For a healthy 60-year-old with no cardiovascular issues, this can be great training. But for someone managing high blood pressure, heart conditions, arthritis, or recovering from a hip or knee replacement, that spike is not a training stimulus. It is a genuine risk. E-bikes change that equation completely. The pedal assist system, and this is the part people misunderstand, does not eliminate your effort. It moderates it. You are still pedaling. Your legs are still moving. Your cardiovascular system is still engaged. But instead of spiking to 80 or 90% of your maximum heart rate on a climb, you stay in a sustainable zone. You stay comfortable, you stay out on the road longer. And here is the kicker that most people skip right past. Studies have shown that people ride e-bikes significantly more frequently and for longer durations than regular bikes, which means the total weekly exercise volume is often actually higher on an e-bike. Wrap your head around that one. Now let's talk about recovery, because this one matters enormously and nobody discusses it. After a hard ride on a regular bike, A 65-year-old body needs more recovery time than a 35-year-old body. That is just physiology. If you are sore and stiff for 2 days after every ride, guess what happens to your riding frequency? It drops. You start skipping days, then weeks. And before you know it, the bike is back in the garage collecting dust next to that elliptical you bought in 2012. We have all seen it happen. With an e-bike, you control the intensity in real time. Hard day on the joints? Bump up the assist level. Feeling strong? Dial it back and put in the work yourself. It is essentially a bike with a built-in physiotherapist, and nobody, not one bike reviewer, ever frames it that way. But they should. The "you're cheating" myth debunked. Oh, we need to talk about this one. Because if you have ever mentioned e-bikes around a certain type of cyclist, you know exactly what happens. The look, the slight pause, and then the comment, usually something along the lines of, well, it's basically cheating, isn't it? And I want to address this directly because it is not just wrong, it is actually harmful to the people who would benefit most from an e-bike. Let's start with the science, because the science does not care about anyone's opinions on what constitutes a real workout. A study published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health found that e-bike riders achieved heart rates well within the range considered beneficial for cardiovascular health, typically between 60 and 80% of maximum heart rate. Another study out of Brigham Young University found that e-biking provided a vigorous level of exercise based on heart rate and oxygen consumption data. Vigorous. That is the same word exercise physiologists use to describe jogging. So no, it is not cheating. It is just a different tool producing a remarkably similar physiological result with significantly less mechanical stress on your joints. But here's the more important angle for people over 60. The goal of exercise at this stage of life is not to suffer the most. It is to keep moving consistently for as many years as possible. Sustainability beats intensity every single time in the long run. A 68-year-old who rides an e-bike 4 times a week for the next 15 years is going to be in dramatically better shape than a 68-year-old who heroically grinds a regular bike twice a week, gets injured, takes months off, and cycles, no pun intended, in and out of being active. The cheating crowd also conveniently forgets that regular bikes are also technology. Gears are technology. Lightweight carbon frames are technology. Clipless pedals are technology. At some point, someone decided those were fine, and pedal assist crossed some invisible line. It makes no sense. Ignore it. What actually matters is this. Are you moving? Are you outside? Is your heart rate elevated? Are you enjoying it enough to come back tomorrow? Those are the only metrics worth arguing about. The hidden costs. Nobody compares. Let's talk money, because this is where people make some genuinely expensive mistakes. And I mean that in both directions. The sticker shock of e-bikes is real. A decent entry-level e-bike for someone over 60 is going to run you somewhere between $1,000 and $2,500. A quality mid-range option from a reputable brand, think something with a Bosch or Shimano motor system, a reliable battery, and a geometry that actually suits an older rider. You are looking at $2,500 to $4,500. That is a lot of money. No argument there. A quality regular bike for the same type of rider, comfortable geometry, reliable components, good brakes, you are probably spending between $500 and $1,500. So on day one, the regular bike wins the price comparison by a comfortable margin. But here is where the comparison needs to go deeper, because day one is not the only day that matters. Think about what keeps people from riding regularly. Distance anxiety is a massive one. You plan a ride, you're not sure you can make it back, so you cut the route short, or you don't go at all. With an e-bike, that anxiety essentially disappears. You go further, you explore more, you actually use the thing. Then there is the injury cost. This one is invisible in most comparisons, but it is enormous. A cycling-related knee injury, a hip strain from overexertion, a fall at 65, the recovery time and medical cost of those events are not trivial. We are talking physical therapy, doctor visits, potentially imaging. If an e-bike's moderated effort level prevents even one significant injury over 5 years, it has likely paid for itself in medical costs alone. And that is before you even factor in what an injury does to your mental health and activity levels for the months it takes to recover. And maintenance. Here is the honest truth. E-bikes do have higher maintenance requirements and higher replacement costs, particularly around the battery. A good lithium battery will last somewhere between 500 and 1,000 charge cycles before its capacity starts degrading meaningfully, which translates to roughly 3 to 5 years of regular use. Replacing it costs between $300 and $800 depending on the system. Factor that in. It is real. But a regular bike that you do not ride because it is too hard is not saving you money. It is just a very expensive piece of garage furniture. Range, freedom, and what that actually means at 60 plus. This chapter might be the most underrated part of this entire conversation, and I genuinely believe it is the comparison most people skip entirely. So stay with me here. On a regular bike, your range is determined entirely by your fitness level on any given day. Good day, maybe you cover 15 or 20 miles. Tired day, maybe 10. Bad knees this morning. Maybe you cut it to 6 and turn around early. Your range is a moving target that is directly tied to how your body is feeling right now at this moment on this particular Tuesday. On an e-bike, your range is determined by your battery and your chosen assist level. On a single charge, a mid-range e-bike ridden in moderate assist mode will cover between 40 and 70 miles, comfortably, even on a bad knee day, even into a headwind. Even on a hilly route, you would have never attempted on a regular bike. Now here is why this matters so much after 60, and it goes way beyond just covering more ground. Freedom of range changes how you psychologically relate to riding. When you know you can make it back no matter what, when there is no anxiety about overextending yourself 3 miles from home, you ride differently. You explore. You take the longer route. You stop at the coffee shop 2 towns over instead of the one around the corner. And for people living in hilly areas, and you know who you are because you have been avoiding those hills for 3 years now, an e-bike is genuinely transformative. Hills that felt like punishment become enjoyable. Routes that were off limits become part of your regular loop. The geography of your riding life expands in a way that is hard to describe until you experience it. There is also a practical independence element here that matters enormously for older riders. The ability to run errands by bike, grocery store, pharmacy, post office, is dramatically more achievable on an e-bike. You arrive without being drenched in sweat. You can carry more, you can park anywhere. For some riders over 60, an e-bike genuinely replaces car trips in a way a regular bike never could. And that is not a small thing for health, finances, or the environment. Safety. The comparison that could save your life. Let's be real with each other for a minute, because this section of the comparison deserves complete honesty even when the answer is complicated. Here's the thing about safety in e-bikes that you will not hear from most enthusiastic e-bike reviewers. They are heavier, significantly heavier. A regular bike might weigh between 20 and 28 pounds. An e-bike typically weighs between 45 and 70 pounds. If you tip one over at a standstill, or if you need to lift it onto a rack or carry it upstairs, that weight is a real consideration. For some riders over 60, that extra weight is a genuine safety concern. Do not skip past this. However, and this is a significant however, when you are actually riding, that weight equation flips in some important ways. E-bikes with quality hydraulic disc brakes, and most mid-range and above models have them, stop faster and more reliably than mechanical brakes on a regular bike. In an emergency stop situation, that matters enormously. At 65, your reaction time is slightly slower than it was at 35. A brake system that requires less hand strength and delivers more stopping power is a real safety upgrade. E-bikes also tend to have better lighting systems as standard equipment since they have a battery to draw from. Being seen on the road, especially during early morning or evening rides, which are popular with older riders, is not a trivial safety factor. And here's the statistic most people have genuinely never heard. Research suggests that e-bike riders, particularly older ones, are more likely to be involved in accidents at higher speeds since the motor assist can push them faster than they are used to riding. This is real, and it is important. If you are transitioning to an e-bike after 60, treat it like a new vehicle. Ride conservatively for the first few weeks. Get comfortable with the assist levels before you start exploring the higher settings. Respect the fact that at 20 miles per hour on an e-bike, you need more stopping distance than you might expect. The fall risk reduction from sustained moderate intensity versus the spike and crash of overexertion on a regular bike is also worth noting. Exhaustion is one of the leading contributors to cycling accidents in older riders. If you're not pushing to your absolute physical limit, you are more alert, more reactive, and more in control. The social and mental health angle. Okay, I want to talk about something that almost never shows up in these comparisons, and honestly, it might be the most important chapter in this entire script. So if you have been watching this thinking it is all about watts and battery cycles and brake systems, stick around, because this part might actually change how you think about this decision. Cycling after 60 is not just exercise. For a huge number of people, it is one of their primary social activities. Group rides, cycling clubs, weekend rides with a spouse or friends. These things matter for mental health in ways that go far beyond calories burned. Here is where the e-bike creates something remarkable. It is an equalizer. When your riding partner is significantly fitter or younger or just having a better day than you, an e-bike closes that gap. You can keep up. You can participate in the full ride instead of being dropped on every climb and spending the last hour riding alone trying to catch back up. That might sound like a small thing. It is not a small thing. Being left behind physically is one of the primary reasons older riders quit group cycling altogether. And there is the reverse scenario too. Some 60-year-olds are extraordinarily fit, former athletes, lifelong riders, who could easily outpace their partners on a regular bike. An e-bike on their partner's side allows them to ride together comfortably. The social ride stays a social ride instead of a workout competition. On the mental health side, the research on outdoor physical activity and psychological well-being in older adults is about as clear as research gets. Regular outdoor exercise reduces depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. It improves sleep. It builds a sense of agency and independence that is genuinely protective against the mental health challenges that can come with aging. And here's the thing. If an e-bike is the reason someone keeps riding into their 70s instead of quitting at 63, then the mental health value of that e-bike is immeasurable. You cannot put a number on it, but you can recognize it for what it is. One of the best investments in your own continued well-being that you will ever make. Who should actually choose? What all right? We have covered an enormous amount of ground, no pun intended this time, and now it is time for the honest breakdown. Because despite everything we have discussed, the answer is not the same for every person over 60, so let me lay this out as clearly as I possibly can. You should probably stay on a regular bike if you are in good cardiovascular health, with no significant joint issues, you are already riding consistently and enjoying it, you live in a relatively flat area, your current rides feel sustainable, and you are recovering well. And your primary goal is maximum cardiovascular workout per ride. In this case, a regular bike is still doing exactly what it should be doing for you, and you do not need to fix what is not broken. The money saved could go toward a better quality regular bike, a bike fit session with a professional, or honestly just a very good helmet. You should seriously consider an e-bike if any of the following sound familiar. Your rides have gotten shorter because the effort feels like too much. You have been dealing with knee, hip, or back issues that make climbing or sustained effort painful. You live in a hilly area that has started to feel discouraging rather than enjoyable. You want to ride with a partner or group, but the fitness gap has become a social obstacle. You have stopped riding as frequently as you used to, and you are not sure why, but you suspect the effort level is part of it. Or your doctor has recommended low-impact cardiovascular exercise, but warned you against overexertion. If two or more of those situations apply to you, an e-bike is not a compromise. It is the smarter tool for where you are right now. And then there is the middle group. People who are fine on a regular bike most of the time, but who find specific conditions limiting. Hills, headwinds, longer distances, particular weather. For this group, a good entry-level e-bike around the $1,000 to $2,000 range might be the perfect solution. You do not need the top-of-the-line motor system. You need enough assist to handle the situations that currently make you cut rides short or skip them entirely. One more thing on this, and I want to be direct about it. Buying an e-bike does not mean you are giving up. It does not mean you have admitted defeat. It means you have made a smart, informed decision to use the best available tool for your specific situation. That is not weakness. That is intelligence. The comparison most people skip, and why it changes everything, here we are. The chapter that gives this video its name, and I promise it is worth the wait. Every comparison you read or watch between e-bikes and regular bikes focuses on the same things: speed, cost, workout intensity, battery range, weight. These are all valid metrics, but they are all measuring a single ride or a single month, or at best a single year. The comparison most people skip is this one. Which bike keeps you riding for more years of your life? Because here's the truth that the cycling industry, the fitness industry, and frankly most of us are not comfortable sitting with. Physical activity after 60 is not guaranteed. It is earned, maintained, and honestly, protected. The people who stay active into their 70s and 80s are not necessarily the ones who pushed hardest in their 60s. They are often the ones who were smart enough to manage their effort, avoid injury, stay consistent, and adapt their approach as their bodies changed. A regular bike ridden perfectly, consistently, and sustainably might give you 10 more years of active cycling. An e-bike that lets you ride when you otherwise would not, that keeps you on the road through the bad knee weeks and the low energy months and the hilly routes you had started avoiding, that bike might give you 15 years, or 20. And those extra years of movement, independence, social connection, and cardiovascular health are not just years of riding. They are years of better everything. That is the calculation nobody's making. Not the bike shops, not the YouTube reviewers, not the cycling forums where someone is definitely about to tell you that e-bikes are for lazy people. Nobody is sitting down and asking, how does this choice affect my total lifetime of active movement? And when you frame it that way, the entire conversation changes. You are no longer choosing between a cheaper bike and a more expensive one. You are choosing between different versions of your next decade. That is a different decision entirely, and it deserves to be treated like one. So there it is, the comparison most people skip, and hopefully now you are not going to skip it. Look, whether you land on a regular bike, an e-bike, or you are still somewhere in the middle figuring it out, the fact that you are thinking seriously about staying active after 60 puts you ahead of the curve in ways that are going to matter enormously in the years ahead. If this video helped you think about this differently, do us a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content who need it. And if you want more honest, practical, no-nonsense content about staying active, staying independent, and making smart choices about the gear that powers your life after 60, subscribe. We have got a lot more coming. And one last thing. The best bike is not the fastest one, the most expensive one, or the one that makes you look the most serious on the bike path. The best bike is the one you actually ride. Whatever that is for you, go ride it.